We're following breaking news out of college basketball where Virginia head coach Tony Bennett is retiring effective immediately. The news comes as quite a surprise, with the Cavaliers tipping off their season in just under 3 weeks' time. They tip off November 6th versus Campbell. Bennett has spent the past 15 seasons at Virginia, leading the school to its first national title in 2019. He's won the most games of any coach in program history and was a three-time National Coach of the Year. As mentioned, their only title in 2019, he led them there, a 43-169 record, close to a 72% win percentage as head coach between Washington State and Virginia. Let's bring in the host of the Eye on College Basketball podcast, our college basketball insider, Matt Norlander, who joins us from Durham, North Carolina, where he's attending Duke practice today. Matt, I'll start just by getting your thoughts on this. How surprised are you, and how surprised is the college basketball world to hear of this news?
This is a stunner. I mean, it really is. The fact that we've now reached less than 3 weeks to the start of the season. Tony Bennett attended ACC Media Day just last week. In fact, with, amid all this news, I just want to start by saying, I genuinely hope Tony Bennett and his family are doing well, and this has nothing to do with a health-related reason, because obviously this timing is very unconventional. Yeah, this is a big one. We're talking about a guy who's considered among the very best coaches in all of men's college basketball, who has taken Virginia to just absurd heights and built up an incredible reputation for not just who he is as a coach, but who he is as a human being. And what we have here is, in my opinion, one of the more stunning headlines in college hoops that we've seen basically since the last time we got a stunning headline of this nature, when it was Jay Wright that was retiring from Villanova. But keep in mind, the Jay Wright retirement, that was just a few weeks removed from making the Final Four. Tony Bennett here has gone through an offseason, has done the portal, has gone through the preseason work, and for whatever reason that he is yet to disclose, on the precipice of the season starting, now we are looking at a situation where Virginia will have an interim head coach, and the program now will take a drastic new direction without, in my opinion, one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in the game.
Matt, what are you hearing in terms of possible candidates for an interim position here?
Well, we await word, and Virginia has put out an official notice, not just of Tony Bennett's retirement, but also notice that there's going to be a press conference on Friday morning, and it has yet to specifically identify who will be the interim coach. I can all but guarantee you that decision has been made privately already. I would think it will be Ron Sanchez, who previously was a long-term assistant under Bennett before he took a job as a head coach at Charlotte. Sanchez doubled back and returned to Charlottesville before last season. So he is a man that has Bennett's trust, as a longtime confidant there, and a very capable coach. So my expectation would be that Ron Sanchez will ultimately be tagged with the interim head coach title.
Matt, where does he leave this program, Tony Bennett, in terms of where it's at and moving forward?
Well, he leaves it in an interesting spot because, as coincidence would have it, earlier on Thursday, we released my preseason list of the top 101 teams. And frankly, I put Virginia inside that top 35 based on my belief in Tony Bennett and his coaching ability and his IQ and hoops, and getting that program to be a top 4, top 5 level ACC program yet again, which is what he has done time and time and time again, just as consistent as pretty much any program in the ACC over the past decade. So he's leaving at a point where there is some uncertainty moving forward. I mean, when you don't have Tony Bennett there, he's the best coach in the history of the program. He might push back on that, but really the fact that he guided them to a national championship and for so many years has been able to keep Virginia relevant, to me, it leaves him in an interesting spot. And if I may, I've actually talked with Tony Bennett about retirement multiple times, and we even spoke effectively on Background back in April on this topic, because he was a candidate of some rumors and wondering behind the scenes, this past season, as Virginia just wasn't operating at the highest level. And, I know Tony, like a lot of other coaches, didn't love and doesn't love the current status of the sport as it relates to NIL and how that conflates with the portal, and then how that's made a much tougher job on a lot of coaches. He's in his mid-50s, but at the time he told me, I'm going to keep doing this until I feel I can't do it effectively, and I can't be doing it for my players players and giving them the kind of energy and attention that I know that I can do. And so clearly at some point between when we had that conversation in April in the midst of going through the portal, and now Tony has changed his mind and decided to change course, and in the process opened up a job that's a pretty plum job. Virginia within the file of the ACC, obviously, and then obviously nationally is a pretty good job. And for him to step away now, it is obviously the latest example of a very high-profile national championship-winning coach deciding to retire theoretically ahead of the pace. And Jeremy, I'll hammer this home because even well before the Tony Bennett news here on Thursday, this has been told to me by coaches across the sport for over a year now, basically dating back to the Jay Wright retirement. And that is, you are going to see, because of the amount of money that head coaches can make now, and because of the different rigors of the job and what the job is now versus what the job was when these guys got into this industry 20, 30 years ago, you are going to see more and more coaches just opt to retire early. I mean, I'm here at Duke practice. Jon Scheyer is only in year 3, but maybe Jon Scheyer will ultimately have different intentions. But if you told me that Jon Scheyer didn't take the Mike Krzyzewski route and ultimately only decided to be a head coach for, say, 20 years and decide that's going to be the route that I'm going to take, I think that's going to be much more likely across the board, no matter the school, whether it's Virginia or it's Duke or it's UCLA, you name the school. We're just not going to see coaches, I think, be willing to endure this profession into their 60s because it takes so much out of you and because it is a near 365 a year kind of job. So Tony Bennett is the latest, but he will absolutely not be the last in terms of high-profile coaches that opt to step away well in advance of their expiration date, if you will.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Matt, the college sports landscape is certainly changing. His dad was a head coach. You know, he's a head coach. If this is the last we see of Tony Bennett in college basketball, how would you describe the Bennett family legacy?
You know, I appreciate you bringing that up, Jeremy, because I sat with Dick Bennett back in Chicago in 2016, I want to say it was, when Virginia was in the tournament. And Dick Bennett has such a tremendous reputation as well. And Tony Bennett was initially never even going to be a basketball coach. That was not his intention. He got into the business almost not accidentally, but he didn't realize how much he liked it once he got into it. And I remember Dick Bennett telling me about how much just utter pride and confidence he had in his son because he was able to coach basketball and connect to players in a different way than he did. And some of it was the same way, but just utter passion, devotion, and you really have one of the best father-son combinations from a coaching perspective in the college realm, and certainly in college basketball that we've ever seen there. And I know just how close Tony is to his father, and really these, you know, this, I'm kind of paraphrasing things Tony's told me over the years, but what he has done as a coach and how he grew up as a man, he owes so much of that to his parents specifically. And he was able to carve out his own reputation and identity, removed from the shadow of his father, who had tremendous success over the years. And to do that is no small feat. He is a downright icon and forever will be in the history of that program and obviously in Charlottesville.
Let's leave it there. Our college basketball analyst Matt Norlander joining us to discuss the breaking news. Tony Bennett, head coach of Virginia, stepping down effective immediately and entering retirement. Matt, thanks for hopping on with us. He's in Durham, North Carolina, taking a look at Duke practice as they get ready for the season. But obviously this is news that is shaking the college football, or the college basketball, world today. And speaking of college basketball, getting caught up as the season approaches, head over to the Eye on College Basketball podcast with Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish. You can download and follow wherever you get your pods or scan that QR code to listen to the latest episode right now.